Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, Canelo Alvarez, he's not pulling any punches in terms of Gennady Golovkin. He really went at Golovkin, saying that he's not impressed. He said he was never impressed about his performance against Ryota Murata. So obviously there's been a lot of talk about Golovkin's performance against Ryota Murata. And Canelo Alvarez doubles down and says, I wasn't impressed. I never saw anything special. I was never impressed by him. I wasn't impressed again. I think Canelo obviously has beef with Golovkin. I'm pretty certain that Canelo knows that Golovkin was a handful for him both fights. Canelo had a lot of trouble. Let's be honest, no opponent has given Canelo that kind of trouble. I know Mayweather beat him, but if you think about it, Golovkin is the one after that, like Mayweather, he was young, but Golovkin is the only one that in Canelo's prime gave Canelo that much trouble, and a lot of people thought Golovkin beat him. So I think obviously there's hard. I think Canelo doesn't like Golovkin. Golovkin don't like Canelo. I think Golovkin feels that he's been robbed, and the politics played a part in him being robbed in both those fights. Canelo feels that Golovkin talks a lot of crap, and he doesn't give him credit for that victory. I feel like I can see it from both sides. Golovkin feels like his legacy has been hurt from those two fights. He feels that, he deserved those wins, and his legacy would be far greater. He also feels that he should be undefeated right now, and he shouldn't have a loss on his record because he felt he won those fights, and he shouldn't even have a draw on his record. But the fights were close. They were good fights, cracking fights. But for Canelo to say that he's never been impressed by Golovkin, I think that's ridiculous from Saul. I think Canelo knows better than that. He knows Golovkin's a really, really hard fighter. And when he got in the ring with him, I think both times he realized that, Golovkin gave Canelo hellfire. They were kind of life and death fights. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were close. They could have gone either way. And nobody's really been able to push Canelo since then. Nobody's been able to really push Canelo, give Canelo much of a fight, apart from Gennady Golovkin. And I think they were cracking fights, great fights. And if Canelo beats Bivol, of course, they're going to be going again. But yeah, I think there's no love lost. Canelo is not impressed by Golovkin. He doesn't like him. Golovkin doesn't really like Canelo. And that's why I think we're going to get a barnstormer. We're going to get a fight where I think Golovkin's going to be looking to take Canelo's head off. And Canelo's going to be boxing smart, as he always does. And Canelo, let's see if Canelo can this time. A lot of people say that Canelo's going to knock Golovkin out. We'll have to wait and see. One thing I don't like is some of the fans are now starting to say, well, Canelo has got his number and has found his number now that Golovkin is almost 40 years of age. I don't want that narrative being spun because, let's be brutally honest, both fights were really close. Most people had Canelo losing. I think most people ringside had Canelo losing both fights. Apart from the judges, I think a lot of people had Canelo losing those fights. The first one especially, even the second one, I know a lot of people that had Golovkin winning that the second fight. But there was also a lot of people that had Canelo winning, but they were very close fights. Maybe I should actually score them again. I enjoyed those fights. But the first fight, I think Golovkin definitely deserved to win that. The second fight, I was with Canelo on that one. I thought Canelo won that one. But there's beef. There's raw beef. There's proper beef here. And beef results in a good build-up and a good fight. Hence why I think the fight makes sense again, because I think there's going to be a lot of raw beef. I think there's going to be a lot of beef between these two. There's beef. They don't like each other. I know they're both pretty respectful guys. They don't go over the top. But you know what? I saw when Canelo fought Golovkin, even though Golovkin doesn't start anything, Canelo actually put his head towards Golovkin and they went back and forth in the second weigh-in. And that's not like Canelo, because Canelo don't start it, but there was raw beef. There was beef there. And Golovkin, Golovkin's he's a bad boy. He's not going to back away from a scuffle with Canelo. Golovkin has had it very tough. I don't know if you guys know, but Golovkin's backstory. You know, Golovkin is a very, very dangerous guy, man. He's not a guy to be messed with. He's a proper fighting man. You know, he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't bark a lot or act like I'm a hard guy. But Golovkin, from what I've seen in a documentary, this guy's come from some rough stuff. You know, he's a tough, tough cookie. You know, and he fights like that as well in the ring. He's a very, very tough man. Takes a punch, strong, heart of a lion. You know, he's just a very... That's why I don't think that this fight's going to be as easy as what people make out. Because Golovkin's a lion. You know, lions don't go down without a fight. You know, Golovkin is a lion. He's got a lion's heart. And lions don't go down without a fight. Believe you me. So although Canelo will be a monumental favorite in the trilogy, and everybody's writing Golovkin off and nobody's giving Golovkin a chance against Saul Canelo Pede Alvarez. So, you know, for Guadalajara, is it Ahlico, Mexico? Saul Canelo Alvarez. So yeah. So nobody's really giving Golovkin a chance, but you know, Golovkin, like I said, he's tough as they come. He's hard. He can punch. So I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it, to be honest. I think it has the potential, if Golovkin can show up, it has the potential of being a really good fight. Don't just completely write off Golovkin. Like I said, this is a guy with a heart of a lion. These type of people you can't write off because they're very tough. They don't quit. They don't know when they've lost. You know, he'll keep coming all night. Canelo would have to put him out. He'd have to wipe him out for Golovkin to disappear. Because Golovkin, trust me, he ain't playing. He ain't playing. You know, I can see in Golovkin's eyes. I can see in Golovkin. He wants this bad against Canelo. He's not going to come to play. I think it's going to be a mentality, it's you or me. Come fight me, it's you or me. And Canelo might oblige. Canelo might get into a brawl with Golovkin. If Canelo gets into a brawl with Golovkin, that might not be good. Canelo needs to be smart. Because I actually think if Canelo boxes, I think Canelo could make it an easy night's work this time. Could Golovkin's got a little bit slower? Could Canelo use that to his advantage? But if Canelo brawls with him, then he's giving Golovkin a good chance. Having said that, Golovkin's got a really good jab. It's just that everything seems a little bit slower now. And when you lose half a second even, you know, at the elite level, at the top level in any sport, it makes a big difference. So we've got to wait. We've got to wait and see how, you know, Golovkin reacts, because we know that he has slowed down. He's an older guy. But I think there's genuine beef here. There's genuine beef. This isn't made up beef. This is genuine raw beef. This is genuine raw beef between the two. And I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think it was a bit harsh by Canelo. I think it was a bit harsh saying that, you know, Golovkin, I've never been impressed with him. But that's probably because that's what rivals say. When you're another rival that's on your level, that's what you say, that I'm not impressed by him. I've never been impressed by him. You know, the two fights that you had with him were really close. So, you know, I'm definitely impressed. Anybody that can, you know, in my opinion, beat Canelo Alvarez, even get a draw with Canelo Alvarez and have a razor-thin close fights with him, I think twice, not just once, twice, tells you how great, you know, Gennady Golovkin is. You know, he's not your normal fighter. He's a tough man. He's a very, very good fighter. So, I think the trilogy will be definitely one to look out for, one to watch. But don't write Golovkin right off. Don't write. The crazy thing is, what's going to be... Obviously, it looks like they're going to be fighting at 168. It give Golovkin an opportunity to be undisputed. I think that is what Golovkin wanted. He wanted always to be undisputed. See, if Golovkin loses a close fight against Canelo Alvarez, he could possibly go back down to middleweight and look to unify there. So I think Golovkin's in a great place. He's going to fight for an undisputed title. And if he doesn't get blown away and get blown out, you know, he could go down to middleweight and look to unify there. So Golovkin's in a great position here. You know, so I hope Golovkin just doesn't walk away, because I do think Golovkin could potentially still become undisputed at middleweight. But it just depends on what desire he'll have left after the big payday against Canelo Alvarez. Will Golovkin have that desire, that hunger to continue fighting? I think that's what it's going to come down to be honest. I think otherwise, I think he probably would fight on. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what Golovkin decides to do. Guys, I want to touch on another topic. Tyson Fury says he's going to retire after this fight with Dillian Whyte. Do I believe that? Well, you know, Tyson Fury's been saying a lot. He says a lot, but you don't always know what to believe. Personally, I don't think he will retire. I think there's too much money on the table, and I think his legacy would be incomplete if he doesn't beat the winner of, or fight the winner of Usyk and Joshua. I don't see how he can retire fighting Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte is not seen or perceived as the best of his era. And the other two are Anthony Joshua and Usyk. And once he fights that fight, if he was to fight that and win that fight, and he wants to retire, then he's completed and finished his career as the best, in my opinion. But until he wins or fights the winner of that fight, then I just don't. I think his legacy will be incomplete, and people will always say, would he have beaten Usyk? Would he have beaten AJ? I think Usyk's going to win that rematch, but either of them, whoever wins that, I think people will say, would he have beaten those guys? I think his legacy would be incomplete. So I personally would like to see him fight on after Dillian Whyte. Otherwise, it's a bit of a, you know, this is a great fight to add to his legacy, but he needs that winner of, in my opinion, Joshua and Usyk. Otherwise, I feel like his legacy is incomplete. And when you compare him to the greats, I don't think you can. I don't think like if he was to beat Usyk or Joshua, I think you could have a proper debate whether he's better than Lennox Lewis. Personally, I wouldn't say he is, but I think you could have a proper debate. Right now, he's not in that discussion if he doesn't beat the winner, because you'd have to say that he hasn't proven that he's the best of his era. You know, whereas Lennox Lewis proved that he was the best of his era. Lennox Lewis proved that he was the greatest of his era. He fought everybody, beat everybody. So, yeah, I would like to see Tyson Fury fight on, just for that one fight. You know, if he wants to retire after that, fair play, you know, he can. He may feel at ease. He may want to retire. At the end of the day, if he retires, it's up to him. But I do think his legacy will be affected if he retires like this, because people will say, well, you didn't beat the other top guy, you know, because let's be honest, Usyk or Joshua will have 3 belts, and it's probably going to be Usyk. So, and that's a guy like, where if Usyk beats Joshua again, like, I think if Joshua wins, I think people would say, well, Fury would have beaten Joshua, but still there would be that question mark there. You know, Usyk would be a tougher test, because especially if Usyk beats Joshua comfortably again in the rematch, then there'll definitely be a debate whether Tyson Fury can beat him. Like I said, I think Tyson Fury's just talking. I can't see Tyson Fury retiring. There's no way Tyson Fury's going to retire. But I just can't see it. There's too much money on the table, and the legacy's incomplete. I just don't see. And Tyson Fury said in the past that I want to fight the winner of Joshua Usyk. He's openly said that I want to fight the winner of Joshua Usyk. So why now? And if I'm not mistaken, he said, Eddie Hearn said that Tyson Fury said he wanted a fight in between before he fights Usyk. If he does decide to walk away, it'd be disappointing, because for me, it'd feel like it's incomplete. For me, it'll feel like his legacy's incomplete. For me, it'll feel like it's just not the right time for him to walk away. He may do it. It'll be upsetting, because I feel like Tyson Fury now has won over the public, and the public has started to now really take to Tyson Fury. So I would love to see him have a few more fights. A fight with him and Usyk could be massive. And it'd be, for me, that would be the title for who the best heavyweight is of this era, the best heavyweight for me. So for me, I would definitely like to see the winner of that fight. And listen, maybe even if he fights Usyk, if Usyk does beat Joshua, fights Usyk, then I would also like to see him fight Joshua. I just don't know how he could walk away from that. He would, for me, has to fight Usyk and Joshua. I think he has to fight both, even if Joshua loses. Even though officially, if Tyson Fury beats Usyk, he is the best heavyweight in the world. He doesn't have to fight Joshua. But I would just like to see that fight, just because of the history, the everything around that fight. I would love to see that fight. So yeah, hopefully Tyson Fury doesn't walk away. If he does, people may still say he's the best heavyweight of this era, but I think there'll be question marks there. Whereas if he fights those guys, I think he'll put all the questions to bed. But that's just my take on it. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.